you've got 3 people in your camp now. You've got Isaac, you've got Billy Joe, you've got Tyson. 3 people, all of them a handful. A lot of work. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been good. The good thing is that they're all friends. They all get on. They all want the best for each other. So it's a positive. They're all having a good effect on each other, and everything's going well.
Let's start with Billy Joe. He's got his name back at the top of the bill. Stevenage, a stadium fight. Didn't you used to play for Stevenage as well?
I did actually, yeah. When I was younger, I did.
You get you tearing up thinking about it.
Yeah. You've done your research, haven't you, Rob?
Oh yeah,
Impressive.
Championship manager, what, 2002 or something?
I did. I did, yeah. But it's been a long time since I've been back there, so that'll be good. But I never played for the first team. Didn't quite cut the grade, but it'll be good. It's local, and there'll be a lot of support, and it'll be good.
It's nice for him to get a homecoming fight as well. The Manchester fight on the 22nd obviously wasn't, the fanfare of a comeback fight that he probably would have wanted. This is like the actual Billy Joe's back fight, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, he's had a tough year, and for whatever reason, but he's back on form. He knows he needs to push on now, so he's up against it. He knows what he needs to do, and he's getting the work done. And when Billy Joe's on form, he's a very, very hard man to beat.
And he's looking pretty good in the gym. We saw him earlier. Obviously, he had sparring, and then he did a couple of rounds of pads with you afterwards. And he's hitting hard, isn't he?
Yeah, he's hitting hard. I've always said Billy Joe can punch, but he's obviously a very slick boxer, and his elusiveness is a massive asset. So he doesn't need to plant his feet, sit in front of somebody, and show that he's got the power. He can outskill people, and without taking silly chances. And I think all fighters, if they could box without taking any shots, obviously that's the route they'll take. But not everybody's skilled enough to be able to do that. But Billy Joe is one of them.
What's different about training him now? Because obviously you came in last minute to do one of his fights back in up in Scotland. What is it, 2015, I think? And you was a lot younger then, a lot less experienced. He was a lot younger then, less experienced. What's the difference of him now? The
difference then was I'd worked with Billy Joe since before then, probably since about 2012. I worked with him going into the Andy Lee fight, lots of fights. The first fight was actually the Jared Fletcher fight, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously he was in a bad place. He had a lot going on in his life in boxing and outside of boxing. And he had another tough year there, after he beat Andy Lee, like he has done in the last year there. And like I say, he had a lot going on, and now he's in a position where he knows what he needs to do. He knows he really needs to put his foot to the pedal and get on with his job and focus on his job, and he's doing that. And the other difference is, before, he didn't have a complete team. Now he's got a complete team. He's got a nutritionist, he's got a strength and conditioner. They take care of all that. He doesn't have to worry about that. All he has to do is turn up, do what he's told to do, and that's it. The rest of it, everything's all taken care of for him. So that's a big help there. And he's got a good balance now on his outside life as well, which is a big factor.
With all 3 of your fighters, do you feel like you have to do the 100% thing for them, sort all of that stuff out with them? Because Tyson and Billy Joe certainly have had problems with discipline in the past, have put on a bit of weight here and there every now and again, haven't they? And now you take everything under your wing, don't you?
Yeah, it is a 24/7 job. Part of that is because of their personalities and the way they are. So certain aspects and elements I have to sort of look after for them, or not bother them too much with it, and sort of juggle out the bits and select the bits that is worthwhile to them or that they need to know about. But part of it is also because of the level that they're at, the amount that comes to them, the amount of requests and other bits and offers that come to them. There's a hell of a lot because of obviously the level that they're at. So, you don't you want the boxer to be focused on the job at hand and what he needs to do, not too much of the other stuff. That it can all become a distraction.
In the time that you've been working with Tyson mainly. You've seen him go over to that camp in Marbella, basically have Billy Joe kind of kick him up the backside, whip him into shape a bit. He's had his big upswing, his comeback and everything like that. Then Billy Joe's had his rough year, and now Tyson's picking him back up again. Was that sort of part of how you persuaded Billy Joe to come over to you, say like, get in here, we'll help you out like you did Tyson before?
I didn't mention it to Billy Joe, to be honest. Obviously, like you say there, Tyson come over to the training camp that I was working with Billy Joe a couple of years ago. And that was sort of the start of things for Tyson, for myself and Tyson as well. And it sort of put him on the right road to where he needed to be. And obviously I've still done bits here and there with Billy Joe since working with Tyson. But a couple of weeks ago, he just gave me a call and said, do you fancy doing a session? We're from the same area, so we went and done a session. Then he spoke to me about it, and I said, yeah, of course, no problem. And like you say there, that was the first thing that come into my head. I know that Billy Joe's had a sort of a non-ideal year, if we put it that way. And they've sort of bounce off each other, as I knew they did when the roles were reversed. So I just expected it to naturally occur that way. And like you say, Tyson's been a good help and a good motivation to Billy Joe, and vice versa when they need it, and that's why they do rub well together. Well,
not before 9 o'clock.
Not if I've got anything to do with it. No, but rub off well on each other. Yeah, that's not a good analogy, is it? They work well together.
Now, you've known Billy Joe for ages, haven't you? You boxed together basically as kids, right? What,
yeah.
Must have known him nearly 10 years or
Over
something?
10 years.
And yeah, he says you're a rubbish boxer, but you've got a great boxing mind. Is that fair?
Yeah, I'll give him that one. Well, he could punch my face in, let's put it that way. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time. Like you say, we was at the same boxing club together, and we started doing a little bit together, like I say, quite a few years ago now, and one thing just led to another, and I've helped him for a long time, and Billy Joe was, I'll tell you another thing as well, he was the first fighter that he sort of had trust in what I had to say outside the ropes, and he trusted me, and if I asked him to do something, he'd done something, and I suppose it sort of put me onto the path that I'm on now. And so before, with me and Billy Joe in that respect, I only focused on the boxing side of things with Billy Joe. We only done a bit focused on the boxing side, on a technical aspect, and the rest of it we was friends, you know. And you can't really be like that as a trainer. Now we are friends, but the whole thing comes first, you know. Boxing comes first, and the friendship comes after at the minute, especially while we're in training camp. But it just has to be that way. But when they're focused, the pair of them, they don't need mollycoddling. They know what they need to do. They're experienced enough themselves, and it's just putting them in the right direction and a bit of fine tuning. And like I say, when you've got people to take care of the nutrition, the strength and conditioning, and I take care of the boxing, everything's all sorted for them. So they just got to go day to day, and you know, slowly but surely, you end up to fight night.
That Sheffield Fusi fight's a difficult one for Billy Joe, isn't it? Because he's one of those fighters who's a bit of an unknown quantity. He's got a ranking, so he's clearly good, but he is a bit of an unknown quantity. There's not much to see about him online. He's hard to research and things like that. So what have you been able to tell Billy Joe about him? Obviously,
I've watched him and studied him, and can see things about him. And like you say, it's a difficult one because he's not got a big name. If you don't go and do a good job on him and look good, all of a sudden it's a bad thing. And if you go and blast him away, it's not credit to you. He just wasn't that good. So it's sort of you can't win in that sort of situation. It's sort of a lose-lose, but it's a step that we need to get past and do a professional job on, and that's what we're going to do.
And obviously you never look past any fight, but he's looking at those kind of big fights after a Fusi. He needs to win to become the mandatory in that in the WBO, and then he wants, you know, the Vegas fights, the Ramirez fight would be there if he wins. The Andrade fight he mentioned as well, if he went back down to middleweight. Do you see all those things being in Saunders sort of in Billy Joe's near future, or is it going to be harder to get there because of what he's had before, doors being slammed in his face because he's a slick southpaw that people don't want to fight?
Yeah, of course, and like I've always said that if I was in charge of somebody, one of the other middleweights, I'm never going to turn around and say, I've got an idea, let's box Billy Joe Saunders. It's not a good idea, and everybody knows that, and you can't blame him because I'd be the same. But it's one of them situations where Billy Joe sort of has to force the situation, and only he can do that. Only he can put in the performances and get the wins that forces those fights where the public demand them, and that is what he's going to have to do. So he's going to have a harder route to get to those fights, which is unfortunate, but is good enough to do.
Speaking of hard fights to make, a man who knows everything about fights being hard to make, Tyson, your other man in camp, he's finally got his Vegas fight. How have you noticed his mood change since finding out he's actually got it nailed down and an actual date?
Yeah, obviously Tyson wants to keep active, and he's ticking one off his bucket list, boxing in Vegas, and he's looking forward to it. He's on form, he's flying. If anything, they're going to have to try and hold him back a little bit. He's in shape, as everybody can see. So looking forward to it.
Is it bucket list for you as well? Must be, surely.
Yeah, of course. It is. It's one of those, and it's something that everybody in boxing wants to get done, and obviously for me on the coaching side of things, it is as well, for sure.
Have you found a decent training camp out there in Vegas as well?
Yeah, Top Rank have got the gym out there, so we'll probably be using the Top Rank gym. And looking forward to it. Another training camp. The training camp over in Big Bear in LA was a very enjoyable one, a tough one, but enjoyable at the same time. And looking forward to doing it all over again.
Has it been stressful waiting for all these things to get confirmed? Because everyone thought it was going to be in February, then they thought it was March, then it was May 18th, now it's June 15th, completely different opponents. Has it, for you, been kind of like trying to calm him down and make sure he's focused on just staying in the gym, staying fit, not getting frustrated?
Yeah, but it is a difficult one because Tyson's he's an extremist, so he's all or nothing. So when he's training flat out on 100%, and obviously you can't do that 24/7 because you will burn yourself out. So obviously we was over in Marbella, training, preparing, looking for a date early on in the year. It didn't happen, and so I've had to try and taper him up a little bit to bring him back in to get started again in camp. But it's a difficult one, and it's a big aspect of the coaching side of things to try and balance that and get a fighter to peak at the right time. But we'll be all right. We'll figure it out, and we'll get it right for sure.
And now you've got the date, you've got the opponent, Schwartz. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he's tall. He's just under 6'6". He's unbeaten, so you don't know. He's a bit of an unknown quantity. We don't know his limits yet. And one thing that was key for me is we're looking to make those big fights with the Joshuas and the Wilders, and they're all 6'6" plus, So we didn't want to have to make the adaptation from a tall man to a short man because it does make a difference. And you have to make certain changes. So we didn't want to have to make that adaptation back again. We want to keep Tyson prepared and in that frame of mind of boxing another tall man. So that was another reason why we appointed Schwartz up for the task, and I'm looking forward to it for sure, and so is Tyson. When
he signed with Top Rank and the SBN and everything, did you look through their roster and pick out the heavyweights and think, right, this is how I'm going to beat him, this is how I'm going to beat him, this is how I'm going to beat him? Or did you think that it was just going to be a case of having that sort of extra financial clout to make the super fights?
To be honest, obviously everybody knows that Tyson went across and boxed Wilder on his platform and took a big risk when it was probably a little bit too early, although it didn't show because of how good Tyson is. It was too early in terms of being able to have Tyson at 100% for sure. Not possible for Tyson to be 100% after losing 10 stone and going through what he's gone through. To go and box Deontay Wilder, one of the biggest punches in heavyweight history. It was obviously a big risk, but Tyson showed his minerals there. But I think 99% of the boxing world believes that we won that fight as well. And obviously we didn't get the decision. We feel that we didn't get a fair crack of the whip. So on a business side of things, looking at it from a business point of view, for us to go and do the same thing again, that's the definition of stupid. To do the same thing and expect a different result is the definition of stupid. So if we'd done it again, won, but got robbed this time of a victory and had a loss on the record, that would be a terrible business move. So obviously, this situation come up where we could have a little bit more say, a better opportunity to be able to bring them and us be the A side, because we shouldn't let an unjust in judging be the difference and play an impact in Tyson's career. So we see that we won that fight, and we believe that Deontay Wilder should be coming to us, and hopefully that's what we'll be able to get done and get a fight done. That's what Tyson's looking to get done, and but we're not gonna make the same mistake twice.
Take it back like a couple of years then, when you had a gym and everything back home, didn't you? When you was sat there looking after your gym, say you knew exactly where you'd be and the amount of time you'd have to give up, like the amount of hours you'd have to put in, would you say, yeah, in a second?
Yeah, because this is the God's honest truth as well. Even when I was working with fighters before then that wasn't earning, sometimes costing them to fight, I still put the same amount of effort in the same amount of time, because it's not about that for me. It's not about money. It's to make sure that do the best job that I can do, and that'll bring the best out in the fighters. And at the end of the day, that's what my job is, to bring the best out in the fighters. And if I do the best I can do, I'm sure I'm going to get that result. And if we get that result, we'll get the wins, and we'll move on to bigger and better things. And like I say, it's a passion for me as well. So I've always put the same amount of effort, no matter who it is. I'd put the same amount of effort into it.
Did you say when you was younger and you started out boxing, Billy Joe, he said you're rubbish. But did you back then see it like, oh, Joe, what, I'd love to be like the trainer of the top guys? Or was it always thinking, God, I'd like to be the spotlight myself? When did that sort of cross over and change? Do you think, Joe, what, I really want to be the trainer, I want to be the best trainer I can be, or the best coach I can be?
Well, the God's honest truth is, this is the actual truth. Whether we put this in or not, I'm not sure. I'm going to have a think about it. But the truth is, I used to spar with Billy Joe. And obviously, when we was younger, you don't know how good he's going to be. And I used to think to myself, I knew in the back of my mind, I thought, no matter what I do, I'll never be able to beat you. It's for you're just better than me. And I say that there's talent, lots of talented lads, but he's God-gifted. And the same with Tyson, they've got a God-gifted talent. And I started going down the coaching route with some other boxers, just helping out. And I found that I just had an eye for it. And I ended up going down that route and doing a little bit more Billy Joe and a little bit more. And I ended up obviously going down that route. But I always knew as well. I always just knew that I had an eye for it, and I always knew that I'd do well for it. But I'm a very confident character, so no matter what I do, I always believe that I'll do well in. Whether I went down this road or another road or whatever I'd done, I always believed that I'd do well. And I think that's a key thing that you need to have in life: confidence and self-belief, and a positive mental attitude. And sometimes I think maybe mine rubs off on people as well, which is another good thing. But I've always had a lot of confidence and a lot of self-belief.
It's a long game. You know, it's a longer career being a coach or a trainer than it is being a boxer.
And I had these looks to worry about.
And you've got the looks to worry about. Yeah, no one's going to want you as a coach when you're ugly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you think of all them hours you've got
well,
to give up.
Well, look at you. You can't get on this side of the camera, can you? Not looking like that.
They don't know. So let's forward wind a year. Can you see it happening? Can you see, like, I don't know, a photo, an Instagram post, you, Billy Joe, Tyson, each side, both of them holding a world title. Maybe Isaac with a British or a European in the back.
Well, I think Isaac's obviously won a WBC International, so I don't think he'll be too far off eventually, you know, soon, maybe getting a world title shot when the time's right, when I feel he's ready. Let's have it right. Billy Joe, you know, he could potentially become in WBO super middleweight world champion in the very, very near future. Especially if Ramirez does move up a weight, he will become the WBO super middleweight world champion. Tyson should already be the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. He's the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. But by the end of this year, I do see both of them being an alphabet world champion. Should we put it that way?